Hello, I'm Dr. Mary Meehan. As a Catholic university, Seton Hall University is committed to supporting educational achievement within our community. That's why we're proud to support the important educational programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Agnes Varus NJTV studio at 2 Gateway. Funding has been provided by PSE&G, committed to providing safe, reliable energy now and in the future. The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Suez, water solutions to meet tomorrow's environmental challenges. Verizon, Holy Name Medical Center in Teaneck, New Jersey. Healing begins here. Seton Hall University, where leaders learn. And by Fedway Associates. Promotional support provided by AM 970 The Answer. And by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association.
Welcome to State of Affairs. I'm Steve Adubato. In fact, we are coming to you from the Agnes Varus NJTV studio in Newark, New Jersey. It is my honor to introduce Adele LaTourette, director of an organization called Hunger Free New Jersey, formerly known as?
New Jersey Anti-Hunger Coalition.
What's the deal with the name change, first of all?
We felt it was time for a name change to really reflect our solutions-based approach to ending hunger in New Jersey, and really making sure that every person in New Jersey who's hungry has access to healthy food.
How bad is the hunger problem?
Well, it's bad. I mean, it's not getting better the way it should be when you look at the unemployment numbers, certainly federally. I think what we are seeing is a lot of underemployment, and New Jersey is a very high-cost state, as I'm sure you know.
It's interesting. So the high cost of living in New Jersey directly correlates to the serious hunger problem?
Absolutely. When you have to spend your money on getting to and from work on gas, it's about having to make a choice with a limited budget.
It's interesting. I often wonder about the role of government here. State government, federal government. What is the role, first of all, the state government and then the federal government in dealing with hunger-related issues, including food insecurity, which we'll talk about in a second? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's impossible to underplay the role of both the federal and state government. Basically, the federal government has nutrition programs that are focused on addressing the issue of hunger, and then the state administers them. And I think we are certainly, with this administration, moving in a direction where we can really expand access to federal food.
This administration, do you mean the Trump administration?
At the state
or
level.
the Governor Phil Murphy administration?
Governor Phil Murphy administration.
Explain that to us. What is it that you see in the Phil Murphy administration that causes you to say, hey, there's an opportunity here?
What I see and what I hear in talking to officials in the administration is they are focused on, they have the same goals as advocates. So they want to make sure that SNAP is accessible to as many people.
SNAP stands for?
Food stamps. Is it accessible to people as it can be? So we have some policy decisions we can make at the state level to do that. They are looking, we just had school breakfast legislation passed. So we have a mandate now.
What is that? Explain that. So there's a school breakfast mandate. Governor Murphy signed the school breakfast bill on May 31st. What does it do?
What it does is it mandates that schools that have 70% or more free or reduced price children in their schools serve breakfast after the bell. And that's really critical because you have to make sure you're serving breakfast when kids are in school.
What happened before that was signed?
We had a lot of schools serving breakfast before the bell, and we have a lot of unserved kids as a result of that.
What's your concern, Adele, about the Trump administration, the federal government, and their commitment or lack thereof as it relates to the issues you're talking about right now?
Our big concern now is the Farm Bill.
The Farm Bill.
The Farm Bill, which reauthorizes SNAP, also known as food stamps. The House version of that bill was disastrous. We would have lost 35,000 SNAP participants in New Jersey from the program.
How? Why?
Because of work requirements, because of a change in how they calculate gross income. It's a bunch of kind of in the weed stuff, but it would have been really a bad thing. So they're going through reconciliation now with the Senate version, and we're hoping for a better bill.
What do you sense in the administration, the Trump administration, as it relates to the degree of interest, empathy, and/or commitment to helping those who are struggling with hunger every day?
I see all of those things lacking. I think they don't want to see people in need. They don't want to see people who are poor. They don't want to see the fact that working people can't make ends meet.
Well, they would want to help them then.
Well, no, if they don't see them, they don't want to help them because they're going to pretend that they're not there.
Well, you can't pretend they're not there. They're there.
I agree. But when you're talking about, it's the realities of people's incomes and really what people are seeing or people are struggling with. And the inability to see that means you're unable to respond.
One more question on this. Is there something about New Jersey, not just the high cost of living here, anything else about New Jersey that makes the hunger problem unique and more challenging here?
Unique and more challenging. I think transportation issues certainly in the southern part of the state in terms of being able to find work. I think living wage, we need to focus on increasing our minimum wage. 70% of SNAP recipients work, but they're not making enough to make ends meet.
Hold on, if the minimum wage was increased to $15 an hour, first of all, what do you think that would do as it relates to helping those who are struggling with food-related issues?
I think it would help. I think the problem you're going to get into there is that what happens is when people make more money, even though they're not making enough to live, they potentially they fall off the benefit cliff, so they could potentially lose SNAP. So things have to be rearranged to really focus on supporting working people at all levels.
By the way, if you watch State of Affairs on a regular basis, Steve Adubato here, Adele LaTourette, who heads up an organization called Hunger Free New Jersey. If you watch State of Affairs on a regular basis, you do know that we have those, particularly in the business community, who argue that they're not against a $15 an hour minimum wage, but they're extremely concerned about what it would do if that happened and what it would do to consumer prices, what it would do to potential jobs of others in terms of businesses making ends meet. We'll continue having that discussion as well. Real quick before I let you go, Adele, concerned about hunger-related issues for college students?
Absolutely. We're working with Department of Human Services and New Jersey Community College Association to try and figure out how we can work together to expand access to SNAP for college students. College hunger has become a large issue.
Why don't we talk about this?
I think people don't understand it. People don't understand that kids have to pay for books and they're on limited incomes and they can't afford. We have homeless college students and hungry college students.
Homeless college students?
Absolutely.
Document it.
Yeah. We have a pantry in Bergen Community College.
How do they then function? How do they go to school? How do they do well?
How do they struggle? At every level, they struggle. That's how they do.
Adele LaTourette, Steve Adubato here, State of Affairs. Don't be a stranger. Come back.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Take care, Steve.
Be right back right after this.
To see more State of Affairs with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at stateofaffairsnj.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
State of Affairs is pleased to welcome Bob Gordon, Commissioner, one of 5 commissioners on the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities and a former distinguished member of the State Senate. Good to see you, Bob.
Great to be here.
Describe the role of the BPU, Board of Public Utilities, for folks.
Well, the Board of Public Utilities is charged with assuring the public of secure sources of energy and water and all the key utilities at a reasonable price. And so we're very concerned about what happens to the system during storms. We try to be on top of that. We just issued a report criticizing a number of the utilities and making recommendations for improving the response. But we're also at the very center of the governor's renewable energy initiatives, offshore wind. And
the governor, sorry for interrupting, Steve Adubato here speaking with Bob Gordon from the BPU. Governor said the goal is very clear. By 2050, our goal is to make New Jersey 100% dependent on renewable energy. Break that down. What does it really mean?
Well, New Jersey's really going to be the leader in this. We hear a lot about New Jersey having the highest property taxes and highest costs here and there.
Can we leave for something good?
This is something good. We're going to build the largest offshore wind facility in the country. We're aiming to have 100% renewable energy by 2050. We're hoping to have this first wind farm up and running by 2023. 1,100 megawatts. And
What does that mean?
eventually-
Translate 1,100 megawatts.
Well, you know,
means
it's
what?
tens of thousands of homes. You know, we have the benefit of 15 years of experience in Europe. And Germany today, this shocked me, Germany is now getting more energy from the offshore wind facilities in the North Sea than it's getting from nuclear energy, which was a major source of power for it. And the costs of these new technologies are dropping, so we're very hopeful that we're going to be able to deal with our climate change challenges, but also do so in a way that's respectful of the ratepayers. And the other great thing about offshore wind is we're hoping to build a whole new industry in New Jersey. You know, we're going to get the turbine manufacturers here and all the companies that provide the maintenance and installation operations for these wind farms. You know, we're hoping it's going to be the next big thing in New Jersey.
What kind of jobs are we talking about, Bob?
Well, the McKinsey organization, a major consulting firm, looked at the northeastern states and said that they could see somewhere between 18,000 and 37,000 new jobs.
Related to that industry?
In just offshore wind. Now, that's spread across a half dozen states, but we're hoping that by being aggressive and by being first, we're going to get most of those jobs here. I got to tell you, what's also critical is in working with the other states. I just had a meeting with a number of other commissioners from the surrounding states. I suggested to them that the best way to derive the economic development benefits that we want is to work together, and it was very positively received by them.
By the way, let's clarify a couple things. This is State of Affairs. I'm Steve Adubato. This is Bob Gordon from the Board of Public Utilities. People often wonder, what is the Board of Public Utilities, not just in terms of what it does, but there are 5 commissioners. There's a reason why there's an odd number, so you don't have an impasse, a stalemate. But, in fact, 3 of those 5 members, former Senator Gordon, are Democrats. We just had the president, Joe Fiordaliso, a Democrat, on. You also have another Democrat who serves?
Former Assemblyman Upendra Chivakula.
And you have 2 Republicans who serve on it as well, correct?
Yeah, Mariana Holden, the former mayor of Madison, and Diane Solomon, former president of the board.
Sure. Explain to folks why there's 5 and explain why there are 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans. That doesn't seem fair unless what?
Well, you know, you
serve at the pleasure of the chief executive of the
well,
state.
Well, actually,
Phil Murphy.
I have a multi-year appointment.
But you get appointed by.
I get appointed by the governor. The majority matches the governor at the time. So we just had 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats, and that just switched with my arrival on the scene. But there are eventually some controversial issues, and you know, they don't want an impasse.
Bipartisan cooperation?
You know, there is actually a lot of bipartisan.
Really? That's where it's happening?
Well, listen, you know, when you start getting into the minutia of utility rates, it's hard to get ideological about that. But, you know, there are some points of view about whether the government should be engaged in, you know, some new industry or not. And so we have these debates, but I think it's really good to have this back and forth among us, and we're all friends. There's none of this toxic atmosphere that you see in Washington.
No.
And you know, I certainly, you know, I was on the phone last night with, you know, one of my Republican colleagues just talking about offshore wind.
We like hearing these things. By the way, Bob Gordon, do you regulate the cable industry?
We actually cover the following industries: electricity, water, gas, wastewater, telecommunications, and cable.
That's a big portfolio.
You know, we touch every life in New Jersey. You know, traditionally it's been just the sort of the minutia of rate setting, which is not something you do for fun. But we're also the center of the clean energy program. So we're at the heart of all of the initiatives that the governor's advancing in this area.
Real quick, nuclear.
Nuclear, it's something that's on our plate now. The nuclear plants are having a hard time around the country competing with the low cost of natural gas. So many of the utilities around the country are looking for some subsidies. The legislature in April passed legislation to provide subsidies to the nuclear plants in New Jersey and charge the BPU with deciding which plants should get a subsidy, if at all. And we're going to take a very careful look at whether subsidies are needed first, and then if they are, which plants should get some support.
How do you protect consumers against any potential problems associated with nuclear energy? Safety.
Safety?
Do you worry about it?
Well, you know, that's primarily a federal responsibility. But actually,
Federal Regulatory Commission?
In terms of, you know, I think a point that has been lost in this debate on nuclear is you could argue that it's important to have nuclear plants around for national security reasons. There are bad people out there who have thought about how to shut down natural gas in this country, either through physical attacks or through cyber attacks. And the nice thing about a nuclear plant is the fuel is on site. They're very secure facilities. And I think the answer is it's a good idea to have a diverse collection of energy sources. And again, we have to be very mindful of the impact on the ratepayers. We think about that every day. So, you know, there's some trade-offs, like a lot of things in public
Real quick,
life.
before I let you go, you're serving on the Board of Public Utilities. As a state senator, you spent a lot of time examining other public agencies, including the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. You learned anything from that experience?
Well, actually, yes. You
Got a
know,
minute left, go.
You know, I just said we need to work with the other states on offshore wind. I learned how to work with New York, and I got bills through the New York legislature when I was working on the Port Authority issue. So I'm very interested, and I enjoy working with leaders from other states, and I think that there's potential to do the same thing again with offshore wind.
Bob Gordon is one of the 5 commissioners on the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities, a former very distinguished member of the state legislature and the Senate. I want to thank you for joining us, Bob.
As
Keep
always,
protecting us out there.
Thank you.
State of Affairs, Steve Adubato. We'll be right back right after this.
To see more State of Affairs with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at stateofaffairsnj.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
State of Affairs is pleased to welcome once again State Senator Christopher Kip Bateman, a Republican from the 16th District. He comes from incredible lineage in the state of New Jersey. To remind everyone, Kip, your dad, Ray, just a giant in this state. Tell folks.
Yeah, he was in the Assembly for 10 years, in the Senate for 10 years, Senate President, ran for governor in 1977, actually beat Tom Kaine Sr.
That's right.
In an election where they thought all you have to do is win the primary, you'll go on because it was one-term burn. But they turned that whole issue of the income tax around, and we lost the election in the last week or so. But it was a great experience, met great New Jerseyans, realized how big New Jersey was and how great New Jersey is. But he was a real institution.
First class.
Yeah.
First class guy. The reason I raised that, not just because to pay homage to your dad, who I had always just great respect for, your father, you, come from a long line of folks who may disagree with people on the issues, but always civil, respectful, courteous, but debate issues pretty hard. Kip, what has happened to the political discourse in this country, and why are we so darn divisive? And finally, will we ever turn it around?
Well, let me just touch on that. You know, my dad gave me a lot of good advice, but probably the best advice he gave me when I was first elected in 1994 to the Assembly is, he goes, you know, you're in the majority. When you go down there, Kip, make friends on both sides of the fence, because you're not always going to be in the majority. And let me tell you, I took his advice, and I made great friends in the majority. I was chairman of the Assembly Banking Assurance Committee. And then when it switched, the other side remembered that. And you know what? I have a reputation of being bipartisan, getting along very well with the Democrats, because the only way we're going to solve these problems in New Jersey is working together.
What's the deal? Sorry, we're speaking with State Senator Kip Bateman. This is Steve Adubato, State of Affairs. That's for folks listening on the radio side.
Okay.
Real quick, why are we so...
Well, Washington is outrageous. It's so partisan.
I hate to simplify it this way. How much of it is President Donald Trump?
I think a great deal of it is. I think he's been very divisive, even amongst Republicans. But, you know, it's not just under President Trump. It's, you know, in Washington, it's been occurring for many years.
We demonize each other.
Yeah, I mean, and
Democrats do it as well.
I know, and you know, if they think that the other side is going to gain an inch, they don't care. You know, they are so partisan. And, you know,
But what about what's good for the country? Does it ever come into play that I'm going to support what you are doing, even if I don't think it helps me politically, because it is good for the people of this nation. Is that even part of the discussion
Well,
anymore?
it should be, and I think you've seen it in Trenton, because you saw with Senate President Sweeney and Governor Christie, they got together and did some meaningful pension reforms and helped
2011.
benefits.
This is a new time.
A new time.
Governor.
A new-
What's your relationship with Governor
Murphy and I have a good relationship. He's called me several times. I mean, I've served under about 5 or 6 governors, and I always give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he's trying to do a good job, but he's got to bring in, there he is, he's got to bring in legislature, that's Senate President Sweeney.
We're here, folks, we're here at NJTV studio in Newark, Agnes Ferris studio. The Senate President just walked by because he's coming in after
coming
this.
next, but,
yes, he didn't give you any hand signals, did he?
No, he did.
Just
No,
I'm
he
making
did.
sure. There's a glass window over there.
Governor Murphy needs to understand that he's got to work with the legislature too, and to get things done. Because at the end of the day, we have to do what's best for New Jerseyans. We have to make New Jersey more affordable, and the only way it's going to happen is working together in a bipartisan manner.
It's interesting. The Senate President talks about the fact that we have no choice. We have to make some very tough fiscal decisions. We cannot raise taxes any longer. We have to renegotiate again, even though as we speak, there was just a negotiation, an agreement between Governor Murphy and the public employee unions on public employee health benefits, saving about $500 million, if I'm not mistaken. Did it go far enough?
No, absolutely not.
But it's a good thing.
It's a good step in the right direction, which we should have done years ago. And Senate President is talking about, he had this task force that's coming back with recommendations, more shared services, more consolidations. We need...
Whoa, back up. Shared services, consolidation of communities. Hey, you got 1,000 people in your town. The next town has 2,000.
Yeah.
Does the state force them, Senator Bateman, to come together?
There's got to be incentive financially. You got to have a big stick, because that's the only way you're going to get to do it. I saw what happened in my district. It took 3 times on the ballot for Princeton and Princeton Borough to become one.
They are one now?
And they're one. And that was easier because they had the same name. We've tried around the state. Everybody likes their home rule, but you know what? You pay for home rule. And we don't need as many school districts, as many towns as we have. We need to consolidate, because there's so many layers of government that it's just becoming unaffordable. And people are leaving the state, and that's sad.
Well, leaving the state, Florida, Pennsylvania.
Carolina, Carolina is bad.
Well, as we do this program, just a horrific.
Terrible.
Terrible.
It's so sad. It really is. But
our thoughts and prayers go out to those folks.
But they're going south or they're going west. And you know what? When the people leave, the money leaves, and people, not only the money, but people who volunteer on boards and commissions, and you're losing that talent.
I'm curious about this. Climate change.
Yeah.
You believe it's very real?
I do.
The federal government, the Trump administration, the Environmental Protection Agency, the federal agency responsible, Senator Bateman, for dealing with this issue. How are they doing?
I would give them an F. I really would.
Hold on. As a Republican senator,
yes,
you give the Republicans in Washington an F because?
Because they're relaxing all the environmental regulations. And, I've been classified as the greenest senator in New Jersey because I'm a pro-environmentalist. And, I voted to have us rejoin RGGI. I introduced legislation to prohibit them from drilling off the Atlantic coast. Trump wants to do that. Trump wants to lessen the water and air standards.
Why would he want to do that?
Well, he wants to help business. He wants to.
How does that help business?
Well, it gives them, obviously gives them tax breaks, and they don't have to spend as much money on environmental restraints.
What's the downside?
Yeah, and it's wrong. I mean, you look at what's happened this week. I mean, climate change is real. I mean, the storms are stronger. They're more frequent. The ocean is rising. The ocean's warmer. I mean, it's a real concern, especially for the next generation. I want to leave a cleaner place for my children and grandchildren someday. I hope I have. But, I'm an environmentalist, and I don't think the national Republicans are doing the right job.
So now I got to push it. Got a couple minutes left. Listening to you, there are people watching State of Affairs, and I want to thank our viewers on a regular basis who write to us and communicate with us and are very engaged and meaningful. People say public doesn't care about issues. They care about issues. They may not be interested in partisan, petty, ridiculous name-calling politics. That's another story. My job is not to do commentary.
Right.
Some people watching right now are maybe asking, he's a Republican.
Yeah.
You say?
Yeah, I'm a Republican. I'm a very moderate Republican, but I care about the environment. I care about social issues, and I care about my constituent.
Is this party challenging you right now to stay a Republican?
Oh, absolutely.
Is it making it more difficult?
Yes, and I've had some battles in my own caucus, and it took
the Republican caucus.
Yeah, Republican caucus.
Are there many Republicans who you're around say, listen, we can't criticize Trump. He's helping to put Supreme Court justices there. We're in control. Just be quiet and let it go. You say?
No, I say, listen, if the criticism is warranted, we should criticize him. Just
and
because
if the praise
he's a Republican,
is warranted, he should be warranted. He should be praised.
Listen, he's done some good things, But I wish he would stop tweeting. I don't appreciate some of the comments he makes about people and issues.
We said that about Senator McCain not being a war hero, quote, because he got caught.
He goes, my heroes are the ones who don't get captured. Come on. I mean,
what did you think when
Senator
that
McCain,
happened?
I thought it was outrageous, And my candidate was John Kasich. He didn't make it.
Yeah, but people say things, we've got 30 seconds left, Kip. People say things like, listen, just forget about what he says, deal with what he does. You say?
Well, I say no. Listen, he's the president of the United States, the most powerful leader in the world. People look at him as an example. And if he keeps saying these things and tweeting these things, I think it just demeans him, demeans the presidency. And I think, you know what, let's do what's right for the American people.
Why can't more people be more civil and respectful and gentlemanlike? State Senator Christopher Kip Bateman from the 16th District. Thank you, my friend.
Steve, always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. Check us out next time on State of Affairs. This is Steve Adubato.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Agnes Varus NJTV studio at 2 Gateway. Funding has been provided by PSE&G, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Suez, Verizon, Holy Name Medical Center in Teaneck, New Jersey, Seton Hall University, Fedway Associates, and by these public-spirited organizations, individuals, and associations committed to informing New Jersey citizens about the important issues facing the Garden State, and by Employers Association of New Jersey.
PSE&G is building New Jersey's clean energy future. We're working to protect our network against extreme weather, expanding and upgrading transmission lines, and modernizing our natural gas system by installing new, more durable underground pipes. At PSE&G, our goal is to make sure you have the safe, reliable energy you need to power your life now and into the future.